Hello everybody and welcome to a very awesome episode from me here on the channel as we are finally publicly and very loudly starting to announce the release of HangarControl. HangarControl is an application I have been developing for months to not only serve as an alternative to other softwares that use control bindings such as MobiFlight, spad.next, things of that nature, FSUI, PC7, but it does a ton more and is continuing to grow. So stick around guys, because you're going to find out everything there is to know right now about HangarControl, how to get it, how to try it, and what it can do at a very high level. So stick around, this is going to be quite the video. If you are interested in any of my tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides as well as any future guides that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below. All right, folks, so the first thing that I'm going to get into here is we're going to talk about what this video is going to cover. I'm going to move very, very quickly as there's a lot to cover in it, and I don't want you guys to get drowned out by anything and hopefully not get bored of the video. So here's the plan for the video. First, I'm going to tell you how to get a hold of HangarControl, how you can get a trial, how much it costs, etc. And then we're going to go into very high level view of what HangarControl can currently do, things that are in the works and the roadmap to come. So without any further delay, let's go ahead and get right after how to get a hold of HangarControl. All right, so first up, what you're going to want to do is head on over to none other than yours truly, overkillsimulations.com. Overkillsimulations.com, the main page, will just give you a sort of a highlight overview. Also shows the most recent videos here if you guys are interested. Gives you a few cool links that you guys can check out if you want to be more a part of my community, and gives you some hot links up here at the top on how to get to all my various sites, YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, etc., etc. Now, the big meat and potatoes here is you're going to want to come over here to HangarControl if you want to learn about HangarControl itself. Of course, you have HangarControl, control the experience, and that's what HangarControl is all about. It goes so far beyond just binding your controls. Okay, and we're going to talk a lot about that here, but if you want to read through it, it has most of all of its features, again, at a very high level, breaking down what it can do, what it serves, and gives you an idea of how the workflow kind of operates. But a lot of this has already changed due to community feedback. I've done a soft release already on my Discord channel, and it's gotten some pretty good feedback. I wanted to give a moment to give a shout out to the community for all of their feedback and help in supporting it. Now, in order to acquire a free copy, HangarControl comes with a 5-day free trial if you wish. Its price is $39.99 if you want to just buy it outright, which, trust me, is the right choice for you. But let's go ahead and talk about how to get it. First thing you want to do is you're going to want to go to the login page, and if you don't already have an account, you will want to create one, register for one, etc. And then log in. You must create an account in order to download the software. You must create an account before you purchase the software. If you go to purchase the software and you get an error that says payment failed or processing failed, something like that, it's because you are not logged in. So once you are logged in, then we can, let me go to my test account here. We're going to go ahead and hit login here. Now, once you are logged in, you will have the ability to download HangarControl. Now, under license management here, I'm not going to scroll any further, guys. No sneak peeks or cheats. But there is the CD key or license key that is listed down below here that you'll want to take note of. There is an option to immediately copy it to the clipboard, and within inside of the HangarControl app, once you launch it, accept the user license agreement, it will start out in the trial mode. And up in the top right hand corner of HangarControl itself, you guys will see right up here, there will be a manage license button. It will show either trial expired if you've already expired it, or there will be a manage license in which you would put in the same email address that you use to register on the account as well as your license key, and then it will activate. Also below here under the license management, you can license HangarControl on 2 devices. So me, like myself, I have a flight sim rig for general aviation commercial, and I also have my DCS rig, if you will, that can do anything combat, etc. So I made sure that you guys could have 2 licenses. That way, if you had 2 rigs like myself, you could set that up, maybe one for driving, one for flying, whatever it may be. If for any reason you get a new machine, okay, HangarControl licenses based on your device hardware, much like most softwares that do this. Windows does this, etc. If you get a new computer, you will want to come down here to license management, and there will be an option to select the old device to deactivate that license, and then you'll be able to activate on your new one once you have it installed. So assuming that you've either purchased it or starting the trial, that's that stuff out of the way. So that's licensing, registration, purchasing. Now let's start walking through a few things. First thing you do is you're going to come here into the settings tab, and you can set your storage paths for all of your calibrations, your profiles, wherever you want those stored. You'll set your community folders for Microsoft Flight Simulator, whether it be 2020 and 2024. That way you can install the WASM bridge. And for PMDG broadcast, you have the ability, if you have PMDG aircraft, in order to broadcast their information and do LVARs and things like that with them, you have to actually make a change to their configuration file. This will do it for you. Logging and diagnostics, if you guys open up the logging settings, there's a ton of logging options that you guys can pick. For the most part, you'll usually leave this at default, but if you're running to a specific issue, and by the way, the excess of over 225 page of documentation also goes through each one of these and lets you know what they do and when to enable them. The more important part is if you're running into a constant issue of something not working, maybe it's not, setting quite right, or you're getting some odd behaviors. The biggest thing to do is, again, to reference the documentation, or you can contact me personally on the Discord and I'll tell you which one to increase to verbose. But if you run into any errors, things like that, what you'll want to do is you'll want to come right in here and send logs to developer. This will package up everything from the last 7 days, and it will automatically upload it to me on the website. So you can just simply say, hey, I've uploaded some logs. Now I am checking that site on a daily basis, multiple times a day, watching for those. So let me know. Also, if for any reason the software crashes, it will automatically prompt a crash log and submit that to the website as well. In that window, there will be an option to enter your email address if you would like me to contact you afterwards and let you know that it's resolved, or that is also a very big benefit for me, assuming maybe I can't reproduce the crash. Now, that hasn't happened. I've been able to resolve all of them thus far, but if for any reason I needed to reach out to you, say, hey, what were you doing at the time that this took place? Give me some more information. That would be a great way. But again, the Discord is another big option. So there is an option to enter your email address if you choose. I do recommend it. USB device stability. Microsoft, as you guys know, in Windows has a lot of different things that tries to basically manage your devices for you. If you've ever had it where you've been flying or using your equipment and all of a sudden your USB devices disconnect, you get that boo-doo-doo sound that Microsoft makes when a device is disconnected. This is likely what it is. Now, you can do the check the status. You can see mine's already optimized, but if for any reason when you first launch yours, it may not show optimized, you'll go to click it and it will restart the application in administrator mode and set the optimizations for you. There's also an option here to restore back to defaults if for any reason you want it set back to the way it was. Here you have the system tray, gives you the option to minimize the application to the system tray when you hit the X button, or you can hit the check mark, which will actually close the application if you wish. And then application updates, there's an option to automatically update, or you can do check for updates, but it will tell you either there is an update available, or as you can see here, you're on the latest version. The other thing is when the application automatically launches, or when the application launches, you will be automatically notified with a prompt screen if there is an update. I want to give a quick tap on that. There is a weird issue that I am battling right now where you click the update and it will close the window. You'll see a quick installer flash. You'll relaunch the application. You'll notice up here that the version number has not changed, and you'll probably get the Windows up or the prompt to update the software again. Just click it again. 99.99% of the time it works on the second try for just about everyone. If you are in a situation where it's just not working, simply uninstall it, download the latest version from the website, and will be good, and then let me know that you're having that struggle. But as of right now, if you run through it twice, it installs the second time around. I am working on that and tracking that as we speak. So that's pretty much everything for the settings menu. Let's start getting into the cool stuff. Everything in HangarControl is gated by a service, meaning that if this start service button, as you guys can see here, is orange, you can see right now the service is running. If it's orange, like we're seeing here, none of your commands will make it to the simulator or to your window. The reason why I have a gated service window is because this also supports keyboard commands. You know, you can literally set it to, when I push button 1, it sends the letter A. So if you are ever, and how keyboard designation works, or keyboard strikes work, is that it will send it to the targeted window. Meaning if you have a notepad up and you click in there and you push that button that's bound to the letter A, you will see the letter A appear on your notepad. So that is why I have the start service gate here, so that way you don't inadvertently send commands to a window that you're not wanting to, and that it only does it when you wish. And then of course, when you're done, you simply select stop service. You have the always on top, which means no matter what you do, it will always keep hanger control on the top pan. The other thing I want to show you guys is we have a documentation button that will automatically open the documentation folder, launch it, and we have our documentation for hanger control. The documentation is very well structured, has highlighted views and chapters that you can go through each section of the product, and it will walk you through everything that you need to manage the software. Okay, now let's get into the fun stuff, the tools. High level view of the tools. There's going to be a lot more coming, but these are the things that I have right now. First, we have a process priority manager. This is much like process lasso. It works the exact same way. You simply add a rule if you want. We can choose from a running application. Right now I do have Flight Simulator running, as you guys can see. So I'm going to select Flight Simulator EXE, hit select, and it will automatically set this to high. We simply hit save. And if you want this service to start as soon as hanger control starts, you simply click that. And we can stop the service now. You can see it's running, and Microsoft Flight Simulator would now be set to high priority, which is what we want. Okay, and then of course you can edit your rules or remove them, and you can stop the service at will if you wish. The next thing we have down is a snapshot manager. The snapshot manager, I highly recommend you go through the documentation on this, but what this is, I do a lot of IT and I work with things that are called snapshots. Anyone who's ever built a virtual machine or deals with VMs, you know exactly what I'm talking about and probably already love the benefit of it. But you can take a snapshot of multiple things. So we can take a snapshot of hanger control itself, so all of its configuration, whether your ModsHangar, your control bindings, your saves, your profiles, your settings, it will snapshot everything. And you can choose a directory to put it. You can make a name for it, set your description, you know, mods entered or profiles created, however you want to do it. And then you can set various options down here. You can compress it, and this is recommended, meaning that it will basically turn it into a zip file, and that will help you save space. And then it will verify the snapshot to make sure there aren't any issues. And on your current location, it lets you know where you're at. And then you would create the snapshot and it will back anything up. Now you can do this with any directory you want. You can do this as a snapshot or hanger control as a whole. You can create a snapshot of your mods directory, of your profile directories in American Truck Simulator. Maybe you want to get a backup of your DCS World saved games, or maybe some random other game that I haven't thought of or mentioned here. You can use this for anything. It's actually, to be completely blunt, it's not restricted to any game or simulator. You can create a backup of anything using this. Okay, and then if you ever need to revert to a snapshot, you have that ability. And then here in the settings, again, you can set a limit, and you can set a whole bunch of different options that will help you refine your snapshot requirements. And here's where we'll actually store those snapshots. And it's a really slick process, and it makes it very, very fun. And again, your snapshots will be listed here. If you wanted to revert to a previous snapshot, let's say you made a big change or you broke something, you would select your snapshot here, hit restore, and it would return that functionality, set everything back to the way it was. The next one down are the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and 2024 configuration tools. Have you guys ever, because this is how this tool came about for me, have you ever made a change and not paid attention to what you were doing and broke the crap out of it? So my particular issue a while back is I had been testing with something, and I can't remember why, but I had changed from DX12 back to DX11. And because of the other settings that I had in place, and especially in the NVIDIA control panel, I broke it. The sim would no longer launch. So there was no way for me to go back in there. Or maybe you're just someone like, you know, Island Sim Pilot, who does a ton of testing, right? you're constantly playing with different settings, things like that, and you want to be able to do that without launching the sim, you can simply click this configuration window, choose which one you're wanting. You can save a profile, but here are all of the settings. Now, the beautiful part about this is it's actually reading the config file. So this has options in it that are actually not even available in the UI. So you can go much, much further. However, always make a backup, folks. It is very, very important to make a profile first and then create a new one. Okay. So that is very, very crucial. You always want to make sure that you can back up and go back to where you were. Okay. All right. And then of course over here, you can delete the selected profile. And this also works for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. So those are all the tools that are currently in place here for the software, but there are many more coming. For example, one of the tools that I have working in the back end right now for DCS World is an automatic window export. If you are like me and you like to take your MFDs or your RWRs or your radar targeting screens and put them on larger screens, this tool that I'm working on will do that for you, but more on that at a later time. Okay, so that is the tools section. Now, next one I want to move into is the ModsHangar. This has already seen quite a bit of changes since its initial release, but in the mods, you would create your hanger. That is going to be usually how I designed it was that's going to be your simulator. So in this case, you can see MSFS, and then you would add a profile, and that's the profile here. You can see up here, there's currently no profile. If we click in here, boom, there's our profile. And you can edit, add new. You can even copy if you want to copy a profile and maybe just make some minor tweaks to something different. Now, one of the really neat things that we have now is if you go to show all mods, this is all of the mods in your profiles directory. Right now, we set the repository directory at the profile level. And so this is showing me all of the mods that are currently in that folder. This is just a test folder, so it doesn't have very many in it. But you can see it's not in any container, but let's find one that is. Boom, this one right here, Chaseplane, is in my tools container. Lets me know right away. We can also search by creators as long as they enter that information into their mod when they create it. And then we can come over here and you can select enabled only, obviously disabled only, in containers, not in containers, all. So that's a real neat way to manage that. Now, the really cool thing that you can do about this here is you can also select a mod and you can add it to an existing container. It gives you the option of which you choose. You would hit select and add it, or you can add it to a new container from here. Now, the really cool thing about the containers themselves, you can add custom repositories and custom deployment destinations. So if we have folders A and B set as our repository and our destination in the profile, but we want to pull from C and send to D, we can set those up here and it will override the profile. So again, this is very handy if you're changing config files or things like that, things that wouldn't normally exist inside of your particular directories. Okay, next thing here, you can also add notes to a specific container. If again, like we were just talking about, if you want to put something in there that you want to remember, or there's different things that you want to pay attention to. Adding folders, if you want to add multiple folders, you can simply control click, or let's say we want to add a whole section, you could shift click, and then when you select the folder, it will add all of those in. You can see you have an operation section here. You have, oh, am I selected on too many? Ooh. I think that, it's because it's Microsoft Flight Simulator, already knows. So it's set to auto here because it can do a link or it can copy. So link is what, for things like add-ons linker does. What it does is creates a hyperlink essentially between the directory that you're pulling from the directory it's going to. What that does is it saves on disk space. It keeps you from actually having to duplicate the file size and rather just put a little link in your community folder in this case that says, hey, come over to this directory for this mod. And it keeps you from actually having to copy the folder over. Now, if you want to do a file, this is another cool thing. Let's go ahead and come out of here. If we want to add a new container, we want to add a file, you can actually add a text file. And again, this is going to be handy for things like config files, profiles, monitor configurations for like American Truck Simulator, things like that, text files, or any other kind of files. The beautiful part about this particular app is no matter what it is, as long as you tell it to, it will move it. Now, another cool feature about the ModsHangar is if you create a new container, and you can see these two are already enabled. If I were to create another one, and let's say I called it something else and I added that Chaseplane mod that you guys saw in here, or that Chaseplane tool, and I went to enable it, it will warn you. It will say, hey, this mod is already active from this particular container. Are you sure you want to overwrite? And again, as long as you tell it to, it will do it, but it does warn you first. The other thing that it does do for most mods, I want to make it very clear, this is specific to how the developer writes the add-on or mod, but it will do dependency checks as long as it is listed in the mod as a requirement. It has to be in the manifest. It's either the manifest or the layout. I can't remember which one. I think it's the manifest. I'm getting confused. I've been coding for weeks and months and years and feel like my brain's going to explode. But it will warn you if you are missing a dependency, as long as the developer wrote the mod to say this requires a dependency. Okay? So, real high level overview, guys. Again, we're not going to go into everything. You can also sort by the various categories and utilities that are in there. So that's ModsHangar, again, at a very high level. Now let's go into the application hanger. For the application hanger, this thing is absolutely awesome and one of my favorite apps. It's blank right now, you guys, because I'm still in testing for something new, and this is my test version. But if you wanted to create a new hanger, what the application hanger is for is, do you ever get tired of launching Microsoft Flight Simulator, Beyond ATC, Navigraph Charts, SimEFB, Stream Deck, although HangarControl can support Stream Deck natively without the use of the software, OpenTrack, Beam Eye Tracker? You guys get where I'm getting at here. Do you ever get tired of doing that? So we're going to call this MSFS. We're going to hit save. We're going to go to manage profiles, no profiles created. And let's call this one, we're going to hit edit, come up here and call it commercial. Okay. There we go. Save profile. Profile successfully saved. I need to fix that window. It should look more flashier than that. Add application. So here's what's really cool. You can do this a couple of different ways. You can use directly from an exe and browse to it. You can do a shortcut. For example, where do I have a shortcut? I don't have many shortcuts. That's kind of a problem, isn't it? Let's check my documents folder. I can't remember if I do or not in here. I used to at one point. I thought I did. Oh, way to not be prepared for Dona. Profiles, MSFS, damn. Okay. You could find any shortcut. Okay. I had a folder that I had initially created for this purpose that had nothing but a bunch of shortcuts in it. And that's what I recommend you do. If you're someone, however, who has them scattered all over your desktop, if you have just shortcuts everywhere, you can simply select in there, browse your shortcuts folder. It will come in here. And obviously, this isn't it. You guys can see we're in the repository. Although, let me check in here. Ah, there it is. I knew I had one. Oh, and of course, it's empty. What a dork. Anyway, so the idea here is that you could select a shortcut rather than having to find a link, rather than having to find an exe. But let's keep on going. You guys got the gist. You can launch it from shortcuts. You can launch it from an executable. The other thing you can do is launch it a URL, so a website. You can put in simbrief.com and it will launch simbrief.com. Now, what you can also do is set in a delay in seconds between how many seconds between the previous launch you want, or excuse me, between the time you hit launch profile to when that application launched. So if you wanted, Microsoft Flight Simulator launch first, you would put Microsoft Flight Simulator in here. You would set the delay to 0. You would hit save. Then you would go to your next one. Let's say you wanted SimBrief to launch 2 minutes later. You'd put in 120 seconds and then again, fire it off. And then you're beyond ATC, maybe 10 seconds after that. I do recommend always using some delay just to make sure the executable is, or the execution is properly received by Windows in the process. But I've used it both ways, and 99% of the time, if you don't put a delay, it still works. But I do recommend putting at least a small delay to make sure things launch smoothly. And then you have make a toggleable window. Make a toggleable window allows you to bind that window to a button. And what that does is, for example, let's use Navigraph Charts as our example here. This is extremely helpful, especially if you're on a single monitor, or if you're like me, you like rocking triples with the entire view. You can push a button on one of your controllers. If we had a window bound here, it would give you the option to push a button that you didn't want it to bound. And so let's say I used button 1 on the Bravo throttle quadrant and set it to Navigraph Charts. When I push button 1, Navigraph Charts mouse will come to the front of the screen so I can see it. And then if I push it again, it will hide it again and make my simulator the focus again. And you can set this to multiple windows and you can set multiple buttons up. So really, really handy tool, especially if you're on a single monitor and you're constantly having to Alt-Tab or things like that to get to your windows. With your browsers, you have the option, if you have multiple browsers that you're opening and you want them each to open on their own window, you can check that box, and every time a new URL launch based on what you have set here, it will open a brand new window in the browser rather than stacking them across the top. So really, really cool features. Again, that's only part of what it can do. And this is very, very high level, guys, because there's still a lot more. So now let's get into the meat potatoes, the control bindings. So getting into our control bindings, of course, you have your hangers. Again, the way that I designed this is Microsoft Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2. So for me, that'd be 24. See, I've got a bunch of test profiles. And by the way, guys, as I said, or I might have failed to mention so far, X-Plane is also supported as of this video. I did finally get it working in X-Plane, and I don't mean using keyboard commands, I mean through the X-Plane API. It's very similar to SimConnect. So one application controls Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, 2024, as well as X-Plane 11 and X-Plane 12. And it will automatically detect which one you're doing, as long as when you create a new profile, you select your template. This part is very, very important, even with DCS World, because there are features coming to DCS World where we're going to be doing something similar to like SimConnect, where we're going to be parsing some of the Lua files. But again, that's much later on. I won't go into detail on that right now. So you want to, if you are using any of these 3 apps or 4 apps, make sure you select that particular template. It is very important, and it's going to be even more important as time goes on and the software continues to develop. But as long as you have X-Plane 11 or Microsoft Flight Simulator selected, then when you start the service for X-Plane 11 or 12, it will start the X-Plane service. For Microsoft Flight Simulator, it will start the SimConnect service. Okay, so very, very important that you guys select those. You have your choose devices menu, which will show all of your devices that are currently enabled. You have the ability to remove all, select all. You also have a configure MIDI device up here if you want to use MIDI devices. And there is also the option, as you can see, Stream Deck is also detected. Go into your Stream Deck. Oh, wait, we'll come back to that. Sorry. Now, you can also rename a device if you wish. So, for example, I have more than one set of rudder pedals and that are connected to the same machine, usually, but I have that hub off. But I could put, for example, desk pedals if I want. So I want to easily identify them. And there they are. Absolutely fantastic stuff. And if you want, you can reset the name back to its default. So coming back over here, let's get into, again, I know I'm moving fast, guys, and I'm sorry. I really want to put as much information as I can without killing your eyeballs. You have a sim monitor here available that can monitor any event that is changing. This is going through some refinement right now. It does work, make no mistake. It is absolutely working, but it's a little choppy, but it does get the job done. For example, if we come in through here, let's flip those guys on a couple of times, and let's go back to hanger control. And you can see right here, you can see where the variable changed and what the previous value was. So you have a nice sim monitor that allows you to track what is happening in the sim. If you're trying to track down a particular B event for an LVAR use or something like that, you can also export this if you wish. And you can reset any changes. You can show only changes that have, show only changes. You can sort by variables. You can sort by location. And you can also show only watched. And he watched it simply by checking an item, and then it will filter everything else out if you're just trying to monitor one particular app or process. And you can also change the speed at which it is updating. Okay, so pretty cool stuff there. Getting into the controls, we also support encoders. Those are fully supported. Stream Deck is supported. Stream Deck's kind of a fun one. Let's bring Stream Deck over here. This is pretty cool. We have our own built-in library. So first off, you can create multiple pages. You guys can see quite a few things here. You can duplicate different configurations to new profiles. So if we want to duplicate this to a profile, you can see right now it's in base. But if we had other profiles that were configured to use the Stream Deck, that option would be there. And then you can obviously export and import any configuration. So this is a way temporarily until we create a library that you can share your imports or your designs with other people. To bind your controls, you have a couple of different options here. You can set your action type. You can browse, you can use the monitor. We can also do some configurations. Here we go. You guys can see we have a ton of stuff that's currently filtered because of a new button that I am working on. So this is inaccurate at the moment. Again, this is a test version. What you guys will download from the website, you'll see over 3,000 different events. Once I am done working on this particular build, you'll see approximately 6,000 or 7,000. So we've got some pretty cool stuff happening here. Coming down here, this is going to be the state mode. This is going to be for the icon that I'm going to show you in just a minute. You can set manual toggle, so with each press, the button will change. And again, that's going to make more sense in a second. Or you can set it based on a condition. So you can, for example, battery state, whatever it may be. You select that, find your condition. You can also determine how it's reading. So if you're doing SimVars, if you want it to show your airspeed or something like that, you can take the decimals off if you don't want the decimals. Okay, and then finally, you can label it as you wish. You can insert a SimVar token that we were just talking about there again for the actual value of the button. And we have a ton of different buttons you guys can select from. These are all custom to Hanger Control. These were all built specifically for Hanger Control, and they are native to it. Again, by default at this time, we do not use the Stream Deck software itself. Everything is in-house. Now, so if you want to set our states like we were talking about earlier, let's use something like, I don't know, sure, we'll set that. And you can see they all have a state change to let you know that your button is active, and this is all fully functional. And you can even do further conditional logic on how the buttons change. And you can also change your text position, your font size. And I have a request to change the font type. I will work on that. We'll see. That's a little lower on the list, but it is on the list. So that's the Stream Deck. Build all of its own. Next, getting into the meat and potatoes. After you calibrate everything, there is a calibrate button that you guys saw up here on the main menu. In the control bindings, there it is, calibrate access. All the calibration is stored in-house. A very simple process. You simply hit calibrate, move your axis around back and forth, and it will let you know down here. You'll have a timer ticking down from 5 seconds telling you to push the axis through and out. You save it. You can also have the ability to, for example, if you do not like the position of a particular axis, you can move it around, and as soon as you hit save, it will save that position. That also works in the device configuration window that you're about to see. So you can see those errors are here as well. Coming to the axis, you have a couple of different options here. You can do sequencing with keyboard commands or SimConnect. So for example, if you're want to bind an axis to flat positions, you can simply set the range, and again, click on the between here, and you can set your range. This percentage, 0 being the bottom, 100 being the top. And you can add lines here. So for example, you can make 10 different commands if you want it, from 0 to 100%, 0 to 10, 11 to 9, or 11 to 20, 21 to 30. You guys get the gist, and each one of those can have its own command. Now for setting things like throttle or whatnot, you would simply click in here, or change your thing to SimConnect or Xplane, whichever you're using. Use axis range, hit OK. Go to the SimConnect picker. Again, remember, right now, this is a test build. This is not what you will see. You would pick your throttle axis and bind it. One of the other things about this axis tune for DCS pilots, this should look very familiar. It's not quite the same, but it's damn close. This was definitely the best axis tuning setup I ever saw, was what those incredible geniuses at Eagle Dynamics did. And so I got as close to it as I could. But you can set your dead zones, obviously your saturations, your curvature, invert if you wish, set it as a slider for certain, if you want the dead zone at the top end or the bottom end. And then, of course, you have a reset back to default. So the axis tune process is pretty slick too. For your sequences, let's say you have a whole bunch of them. You can select one or select all. It's selecting the all check mark because there's only one here. But if we were to add, right, we can sit here and do this. Select one like that, and you are able to move that up or down. Okay. So really, really easy stuff. Really, really cool stuff. It can do a lot. And again, there's a lot more coming. For the button binding, we now have, let me clear that, and actually here, let me show you something. So the orange circle indicates a button is bound. If you want to clear the button, as you can see when you mouse over, it tells you what it is. Right click on it, clear bindings, wipes it all out. The orange solid lights indicate that a button is being depressed. So it makes it very easy for you to identify which button that you want to bind to a particular command. Coming into the configuration window, you have add press. Single press is by default, so that's just a quick tap. You have a double tap, so if you do 2 taps in less than 200 milliseconds, so basically 2,000ths of a second, so a quick double tap, it will do something completely different, and you can add that if you wish. Lets you know that you're able to bind. You have on release. You have on a long press, that is going to be any depression that is longer than 1 second, as you can see here. A hold for continuous action. I do want to show you guys that one. For certain items, if you find that it's going tick, 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 when you hold it down, like let's say you're using your magnetos, the start position, reduce this time to say 50 milliseconds, and you'll find that for, like, again, your ignition, your start switch, it will hold it down and you'll start. So these times can be adjusted at your leisure. And that, again, was by design. There may be certain things where you want to be able to hold the button down, but you don't want it to be a very rapid depression. It really is all up to you. You can remove various actions. You are required to leave at least one, though. So when it doesn't let you, simply bring back in, for example, the single press, go back to the double tap, remove action. Okay. Again, just like before, we have SimConnect, your LVARs, Xcommand, and data refs. I'll give you guys a little tip. The command on Xplane is more like SimConnect, and data ref are going to be like things like your axis or your variables. So more like LVARs and axes, things like that. And then down here we have an advanced option, and this is all for condition logic. There are so many things that we can do for condition. You can set it as an LVAR, an AVAR, a sim variable, or a button state. For example, if button 2 on your Bravo needed to be held down in order for this action to take place when you make button 1, don't mind that. You guys can see it says button 1. It is button 2. I needed to make a change to that too, but that's minor. That's just a textual visual incorrection, but it does work. It will be the button that you select in that primary window. And then again, you can also set your long press, short press, and double tap windows. So for example, if your double tap is too small, maybe you can't push your finger quite that fast, you can increase that. Then you can turn around and increase your long press and your short presses. So there's really awesome stuff here. With your conditions, let's say you set a variable of the aircraft needs to be above 1,000 feet AGL, but you're in a really slow climb. And let's say you bound it for your landing gear. You flip the landing gear handle up, but you have a condition that says the aircraft must be above 1,000 feet AGL. So when you flip that up and you're not at 1,000 feet AGL, it will recheck every second for 60 seconds. So for 1 minute, you have 1 minute to get up there, but now you can increase or decrease this time as you wish. So again, if you want to set that to 2 minutes, then if all of a sudden at 1 minute and 35 seconds, you reach that condition, boom, you'll suddenly watch your landing gear start to come up. And that's just a high level example of what it can do. That is a very, very high level, fast overview of Hanger Control and what it can do. Now let's talk about what's coming. Okay, so first off, as far as the roadmap, some things that are coming, I'm already getting feature requests on my Discord. I do highly recommend you guys join the Discord if you want to follow the Hanger Control progress. But one of the things that's coming is sequencing. And what they mean is if I push button 1 once, activity 2 happens. Push it again, activity 3 happens. Push it again, activity 4 happens, right? So a cycled sequence where each push, it's the same button, but each time you press it, it runs through a series of events until it reaches the end and then comes back around. Rather than, like I was talking before, a sequence where you push the button. That's the other thing that we have available in the control bindings are sequences, just like we saw in the axis control, where if you push a button, it can do 10 things with that one push. Okay, and you set a time between that. That is also built in the software. I forgot to mention that. Like I said, it can do a lot. So we have that option coming down the line. We have further developments for Microsoft Flight Simulator as well as Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. There are further refinements happening to the ModsHangar and the control bindings. New things are being brought up every day. Right now I'm working on increasing the performance of the Sim Monitor and enhancing the SimConnect catalog. What you guys saw me testing right there, the 71 variables there, is I'm trying to limit how much it can show for someone who is a beginner. I'm creating that essentials button is what I'm working on right now. And the Essentials button is someone who's brand new to this. You know, SimConnect can be pretty daunting when you're new. It can look very confusing. And so the idea behind it is to only have the Essentials. You have the ability to click a button and it gets rid of everything but the Essentials while that button is highlighted or active. So it would only show things like your alternator, your battery, your lights, your avionics, your parking brake, your trim, things like that. Things that are a requirement to get you up and moving. And then later on, if you choose, you can go back in and add the more advanced stuff as you get more comfortable. We have American Truck Simulator support that's coming down the line. Right now, it already supports it using keyboard commands. But one of the things that I'm working on for American Truck Simulator, guys, is a state-saving ability. And there's more to come on that. It's requiring a lot of work. I am diving into it pretty heavily, but it's definitely going to be a little bit. But we are making progress, and I think proof of concept has been given. I think I finally have solidified it can work. So cool things like that are happening, guys. There's so much to go through. DCS World, like I said, creating sort of our own version of a DCS World SimConnect, if you will. The monitor export for DCS World. That way you can easily pop your screens out from the F18, the A10C, whatever it may be. Really a lot going on, guys. And I'm barely even touching the half of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're excited about HangarControl. I hope you take the time to at least register an account and try the 5-day trial. There's no cost whatsoever. No harm to giving it a shot. And then please be sure to join the Discord, guys. It is by far the best way to get in touch with me. If you guys come into the community, you guys can ask around and you guys will be able to see that I am very active in speaking to my users and hearing what you guys have to say and making it a priority. For example, guys, I do want to point out, just give you an idea, the show all mods. Oh, dang it. There we go. All of this feature, the not in container, the ability to add it to an existing container, create a new container, things like that. This was a request by a user that was given to me yesterday afternoon. So, you know, if you guys fire it off a request, same thing with that sequence line where you push the button. Each time you push it, it executes the next thing in line. That was another one that was from a user. And I'm definitely going to be adding. So I want to hear your feedback. You know, one of the things that I've sort of built on a slogan is it's HangarControl, control the experience, right? But one of the things that I really like is also that I said in my last video, it's an application for simmers built by a simmer. Okay, so these are all the things that I've wanted in an application. One app that can just do damn near all of it. And that's my goal. There will never be a price change. At least not that I can foresee any reason to. I wanted to keep it reachable to everybody. And there will never be, let's say, for example, if there ever came a reason where I had to separate versions, for example, a Microsoft Flight Simulator supported version and an X-Plane supported version, which I've already debunked at the moment. They are both absolutely working in HangarControl. But to give you guys an example, if for any reason I had to do that, one price would still cover both applications. It just means that you would download 2 different applications, but I would not penalize you guys financially for that. So anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope you're just excited for it as I am. I appreciate all the love and support. You guys are what motivated me to do this. So as always, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.